Welcome to the Dirt Trail Running Podcast. We are filming from the Ornery Mule Racing Trailhead in Crystal Lake, Illinois. This is the headquarters to the trail races that we organize, and we are located on the Illinois Prairie Path across the street from Three Oaks Lake and Park. This morning we had the Mud Running Club here doing a trail run from the shop, and we invite people to come out and visit us. And today in the studio we have Steve Streaker, our director, and we have Luke from Fusion Films filming us. And Crystal the Pistol's off volunteering at a race today, so we have Ryan Haywood sitting in. Ryan.
Happy to be here. Sorry, Crystal, taking your spot this time. This time, I'm owning it.
Yes.
Last time I apologized, but this time,
you're going after it.
I'm sitting in Crystal's seat. But yeah, happy to be here. I'm a coach here at Ornery Mule Racing. Been on a few of the other podcasts here, and just grateful to be here.
Yeah, you had one of the most watched podcasts we had on Eastern States.
Are you kidding me? Really?
Well,
Me?
Corey passed you up now, but you were top.
Who?
Yes,
Who?
Corey Waltering.
That's it. I'll get my friends, as you hear, unite and get my podcast back up on top.
Up to number one again. You don't want to be
Listen
number
to it 3 more times, everyone. 3 more times.
Well, thank you, Ryan. And then we have a really special guest today. We got Jenn Collins.
Hey.
Thank you for coming, Jen.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited.
Yeah, where did you come from today?
So, Waukesha, Wisconsin. So, just a little over an hour drive, a super pleasant drive. And I was really excited. I drove by Veterans Acres, which I've heard so much about, and I had no idea it was this close to me. So, I assume, when you hear drive to Illinois, you assume you're going to Chicago and through all the traffic. This was not a bad drive. I will be down here to run.
Yeah, we've got great trails. And actually, the trailhead here runs, you can park here. We'll give you great drinks and stuff. We got coffee afterwards. Take the trail. It goes right into Veterans Acres, and then come back here, change clothes.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the trailhead.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's nice single track trails.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
What is it about that border, the Wisconsin border, like anything south of that is like, watch out.
I can tell you
Be
exactly
careful.
why.
Slow times, traffic.
I can tell you why. You go to Lake Geneva during the summer, and it's all Illinois plates on every single car, and you're clogging up our nice stuff. So, sorry, you got a bad reputation.
Let's quit calling them Illinois residents. Call them cloggers. Let's just clog them up. Clogging up our streets.
We got other names for you.
Oh, excellent idea for another podcast.
Well, thank you. We're making friends with the Wisconsin people here, not like Ryan over here.
I love Wisconsin. How many times do I have to say this during this podcast? I love Wisconsin.
So you run the Trail Sisters up in Wisconsin. Which group do
Trail
you have?
Sisters Waukasha. So
Okay.
it's Trail Sisters Waukasha. It's actually a little bit bigger than that. We've got 3, as far as I know right now, 3 Trail Sisters groups in Wisconsin. We've got Trail Sisters Kenosha, Madison, and Waukesha. I believe Waukesha was the first one in the area. We just started in September. And we've kind
for
of
the
grown.
listeners, maybe to back up, I should have asked first.
Yeah.
Some people might not know what Trail Sisters is.
So can I tell you how it came to be?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've been vaguely aware of Trail Sisters over the years. They put out a Trail Sisters journal, which is basically a blog that has to do with women's issues in running, women's issues in trails, getting women out on the trail, being brave, trying new things, that sort of thing, getting women comfortable with being outdoors. So really cool stuff. They've got some great articles. I was always vaguely aware of them. Then last August, I ran at the Stewart Tunnel 50K put on by 10 Junk Miles. They had the 100 mile. They had all kinds of great race. Totally enjoyed it. They had a big Trail Sisters presence there. They were a Trail Sisters approved race. And I got there, and at the start line, there's all women with the Trail Sisters hats and the shirts. And I thought, this is so cool. I want to be a part of this. So a few days after the race, I go to the Trail Sisters website, and I type in Wisconsin. I'm going to join the Wisconsin group. And there's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what the heck? So I sent an email to the website. I was like, hey, where's your Wisconsin group? And to make a long story short, there wasn't one until there was.
Yeah.
So that month, we set up the very first Trail Sisters group in Wisconsin as Trail Sisters Waukasha. It starts out as a Facebook group, basically.
Okay.
And we set up our kickoff run, which was September 1st at Scuppernong. And I thought, this would be really successful if I can get maybe 40 women to join the Facebook group. If we could get like 5 or 6 people to show up for this kickoff run, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So you start inviting friends, and then friends invite friends. And, you tell them the premise behind it, which is we want to have a group of women who go out and run trails, if not run, walk the trails, hike the trails, be outside, with the idea that no one's left behind. Whatever your pace is, that's a great pace to be. Don't be afraid of being too slow or being lost or any of that. We won't leave anyone behind. Come on out, run with us, be with us, hike with us, that sort of thing. So the September 1st, I show up at Scuppernong before the sun rises, and suddenly there's car after car pulling into the parking lot. And, me, I'm like, no self-confidence on this. I thought, oh no, I've stepped on someone's event. There's some race going on here today. And I totally walked all over it. And then I realized these women are getting out of their cars. They're like, hey, Jen, I'm so excited you put this Trail Sisters thing together. And we had somewhere between 30 and 40 women show up for our first event.
Oh, that's great.
It was so cool.
And that was just September of last year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it was a couple of weeks between setting up the Facebook group, inviting people, and doing this kickoff run. So now the group has grown. We've got something like 450, 460 people in the Facebook group. We've done events every month, and good size events every single month. And we get new people all the time, people who are runners maybe, who've never been on a trail before, who haven't tried trail running because they have all of these questions. What if I get lost? What if I'm too slow? And that was kind of a big one for me, because I'm always the first to say I'm a slow runner. You have all these impressive people on your podcast who have run this and run that, and they're fast and amazing. I am not one of them. I am not.
You're very impressive.
Well, I'm not someone who's going to go bragging about their race times, though, because they're not particularly brag-worthy. I often don't finish races. I mean, I'm training for Ice Age 50 this year. I just found out I got off the wait list, so I'm excited. I made it a few years ago to the very last aid station and ran out of time. So I'm just not someone who can nail those times. So the people who are like me, who are not exactly the speediest, those are my people.
Yes.
So I kind of have this feeling like, if you're not so confident about getting out on the trail, if you're afraid that the whole group is going to run ahead of you and you're going to be left behind, and do I go this way on the trail or that way? Am I going to be lost? That's who I want to reach out to. That's the people that I want to see come to Trail Sisters, and just know that no matter what your pace is, even if you're doing a run walk, even if you're hiking, if you're injured and doctor said don't run for a while but get outside, join us. That's excellent. And I want people to feel confident with getting out there and going to unfamiliar places. Like I chose Scuppernong for our first one because the Scuppernong trails, there's 3 different loops basically. It's really hard to get lost. Eventually you'll come back to the trailhead and you probably won't have more than 5 miles to run no matter what loop you pick.
Yeah.
So it's a nice, good beginner one. And I want people to have that good first experience where they come out and they've run a trail and it's challenging, and there's big hills and there's downhills and there's beautiful scenery, but they didn't get lost. They didn't have that fear of, I was all alone on this, because when we do these runs, we set them up as we'll have official runs and unofficial runs. We do the unofficial ones because we have so many ladies in the group who will just post things like, hey, I need to get in 20 miles on Saturday. Who wants to join me? And they find, 5, 6, 10 people who join them.
Yeah.
Those are unofficial because I can't promise that someone will be there to escort the slower runners.
Okay.
But our official runs, we have a policy of no one left behind. They're called no drop runs.
Okay.
So if we have people come and they say, hey, I'm hiking today, I just can't run it, or I'm new to this and I do a run walk, I make sure that there's someone there, and usually it's me, and that's cool. I love it. Who will stay with them and who will, be a tour guide if we have to, or just, keep them motivated to keep going on the trails. We want to give them that feeling that they can go out there and do this and be brave and not be abandoned or left on their own.
And so how do people that are listening find out, about the different runs? They join the Facebook group?
Yep, we curate the group, so you have to be a Trail Sister. There's no Trail Misters in the group.
Okay.
And we do that because a lot of these ladies, we have a group who runs very early in the morning, in the dark, on a trail, a particular trail, every single Tuesday, let's say. And we want to keep out potential strangers, So we are a close group. For being a big group, we're a close group. So for safety reasons, we do that. And also because, frankly, we talk about a lot of girl stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of conversations about things that guys just don't want to hear about, And those are conversations we have within the group. We have them out on the trail. And, we don't want to make anyone particularly uncomfortable.
That's great. You should have a Trail Sisters. Maybe we can help organize a group run down here.
Yes, let's.
Because now that you know how close it is.
Oh, yeah. It's not, some of the girls drive from much farther to get to our trails in Waukesha. We've got girls from the Kenosha area, absolutely.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
We have some artwork here that you've done. And so you have a lot of really great hobbies. Can you want to share about some of your
I have too many hobbies,
Yeah.
I think.
Running being one of them.
Yeah, well, running it's become my primary thing with the Trail Sisters and with training for Ice Age now. And I mean, like I said, I'm not particularly great at it, but I sink an awful lot of time into it. And I have a coach this year, which has been really great. And the first thing I told her is that I know you're going to put a lot of my long runs in on the weekends. But
is this your first time having a coach?
Yes.
Oh, that'll help a lot.
I've never had a coach before, so it's nice to just say, hey, tell me what I need to do to make this happen. And I did tell her, though, that Trail Sisters is really kind of my priority. So if you're going to tell me to go out and run X minute miles on the trail this weekend, that might not happen. I might be running with someone else. And she's like, no, whatever your pace is, that's where you need to be. Go run with your ladies. That's great.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. That was really cool. But yeah, aside from running, I have a little online shop called See You on the Trail. And I do, like you have a little sign that says Ice Age Trail Runner.
Yeah.
I do basically trail runner themed gifts, that kind of thing, because I needed something else to do in my life. But it's fun. I enjoy doing like graphic design and things like that as a hobby. So it just kind of spilled over into something like that. And I my whole life I was very much into doing crafts. And then maybe 15 years ago, I kind of took a break from it for some reason. So I feel like I have 15 years of pent up crafting energy that I've been kind of like letting go lately. So I've made a bunch of stuff and it's just been fun.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Really, really nice things.
Thank you.
And you do painting as well?
Yeah, I paint a little bit. I do watercolor painting with my son. He's fun. He's 10 years old. He loves being outdoors as much as I do. He's very much, kids are into computers and stuff and into video games, but anytime, any weather, if I say, hey, should we go for a walk or go for a hike, he's got his shoes on before I finish the sentence, and he will go as far as I want, as long as I want. He's down for it. So that's one way that we've connected. And then painting, he'll paint with me anytime. I say, you want to paint? Absolutely, he's down for it.
Oh,
so,
that's great. Yeah, so let's talk about your family a little bit.
I have an odd family situation. It's made running a little challenging this year. I was originally signed up for Georgia Death Race at the end of March. There's a lottery for it. I signed up for the lottery in July, not expecting to get in. I got in. So I hired a coach. Said, okay, I'm going to need some help on this. I'm good at climbing. That's maybe my strength. I can climb. I can't run great, but I can climb. I think I can do this.
Life is uphill. Yeah.
Well, a year ago, my mother-in-law lived in California. She passed away. She was the caregiver for my brother-in-law. He's 61 years old. He's disabled in multiple ways, emotional, mental, physical. And suddenly he had no one except my husband and I. So we got him and brought him back into our home. My husband quit his job to become his brother's full-time caregiver.
Okay.
Being a caregiver is hard. It's really hard, especially when it's someone who's a family member who's in your home and who has needs that are 24/7.
Yeah.
So our job is kind of, there's no vacation. So the idea of the time I'd have to take off to travel to Georgia for Georgia Death Race, I'd be leaving my husband and my son home alone, and right now that's just too much. In July, I thought we'd be into the swing of things a little better, but this is a challenge that's not getting less as time goes on. It's staying the same. So, it's going to mean no vacations for a while. So it means more local races for me.
Well,
so
we
that's
have
fine.
great local races.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no shortage of those. So that's why I ended up on the wait list for Ice Age. I made the decision about a month ago to not do Georgia Death Race, but I obviously have very unfinished business at Ice Age, having had to drop at the last aid station the last time I ran it. So I thought if I can get in there and pour all of this training I've done into that, that would be good. So yeah, that's my family. That's my odd family.
And what do you do for a job? Like,
so I'm an attorney.
Okay.
I am a partner at my firm. It's a small firm. We call it a boutique firm. There's like 9 people in the firm right now. One thing that's really cool, the firm has been around since the 1950s, and 2 years ago, we became a women's business enterprise. So we have more women than men as shareholders in the firm, which is awesome. My coworker, the other woman in the firm who's a shareholder, when she first started, one of the partners who's long dead told her that he didn't like hiring women. Told her to her face, because that's what you did back then, apparently, and how things have changed.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of that. So that was a really
that's
cool.
why Trail Sisters is so great. To be certified, I read over it for our races, and it's like, I'm so glad she reminded me to think about making sure there is equal number of women to men at the start. Like some of the stuff you might just not notice, and she's noticing that.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's really important, because if you're not paying attention, well, anyone can sign up for the race. There's no restriction, but there kind of is. There's kind of if nothing else, it's self-imposed by women in some cases, where we think, and not to be stereotypical, but I feel like I can say this. I feel like this is just how life is. Oftentimes, the burden of like having a family and having kids, especially when the kids are young, falls more on the women than it does on the men, just by it's how it is.
Yeah.
I've got no excuse for it. That's how it is. We have a lot of women in our group who have young kids, and they're carving out little itty-bitty pieces of time for themselves to get out on the trail and to go and run. And I think it's so important. And they all say, this is my me time, and I'm finally embracing my me time after years of having little children at home. This is my couple of hours that's just for me. And it's so important,
Well, that was so great of you to create for the women.
Well, I mean, I feel like I don't want to give myself a whole lot of credit on this, because so many of the things that we do are things like someone in the group suggests, hey, why don't we do this? And I'm happy to do the groundwork for it. Like, I have an example. A few months ago, one of the ladies said, you know what, I've never done a trail run before. I really want to. But I don't want to just show up at the trailhead with people I don't know and start trail running. Could we maybe meet ahead of time and have a non-running thing? So we started a thing called Trail Talk, where we meet at a coffee shop. We do this, maybe every other month. And we meet in a non-running setting. We don't run. We just show up and we talk about all things trail. We share stories. We share what's your favorite this or that. The last one we did, we told the ladies, if you're coming to this one and you have a hydration pack, bring it. Because that's one of those, this is my big move into trail running now. I'm going to have a hydration pack, That's often a big first purchase for people besides trail shoes. But it's one of those things that's hard to buy online, because who knows, does it fit right? Are the pockets all in the right places? Is it going to be what I need? So we had, 30 women show up at this coffee shop.
Yeah.
And a bunch of them brought packs, and they're all exchanging packs and trying them on and seeing what they like. And it was just a nice non-running, non-threatening setting for everyone to kind of share ideas and share their stories and stuff like that. And it worked out really, really great. And I can take no credit for it other than I called the coffee shop and asked if it was okay. It was one of the girls just had a good idea.
Yeah, that is a really great idea.
That's amazing, yeah. Just being able to kind of be an access point for so many women, this is amazing. And because just runners in general are always looking for the ways in, and how do I find a community to did you just show up to the trail? Okay. And then I just run on it? What would I do with my car? All that stuff. So
where do I put my keys? That's
exactly.
the thing. And that's often a thing that we have too, is when deer hunting season was coming up, what do I do? Am I supposed to wear orange? And at first I was pointing people to the DNR website until I went to the DNR website and realized it's really complicated. There's no simple answer. There's a very distinct gun hunting season, but then there's bow season. And then there's, if you're in this county and maybe on this trail, you might see hunters here. So I called the DNR. I asked lots of questions, and then we would post this is what you do and when, and you know what? here's a good idea. If it's between October and January, just wear orange, you know. But it's things that you don't necessarily think of. Things like when we have to share the trails with the mountain bikers. Well, should I be stepping over here if it's muddy? Should I be running on this trail? Do I go clockwise or counterclockwise? How do I safely share the trail? What if there's a bike coming at me? What do I do? You know, it's not stuff you know until you've done it or until you've run with people who've done it. Or like this winter when some of the trails close for the skiers, like Nordic, the Black Loop or the loops at Lapham Peak close. It's not obvious when you get there that that's the case. So we do a lot of information sharing about that, you know, just to get people educated on trail etiquette, on being a good trail citizen, sharing the trail with others. And plus, it's kind of a nice clearinghouse for information. Like I learned on Thursday that the Black Loop at Nordic opened back up. I wouldn't have known that. I went running there now that it's back open. But it's been a nice way to share information like that. Or even we have a weekly trail conditions report because we're all running everywhere. You know, if you're going out to Scuppernong today, you're going to need spikes. It's kind of a mess out there. Or things are muddy looking over on the Ice Age Trail by Lapham, so be aware. You know, it's been really good for all of that too.
How can I be a better trail citizen?
Oh, that's a great question. You know what? What I've really, really enjoyed is calling like the Ice Age Trail Alliance. I don't know what your equivalent is here, but the Ice Age Trail Alliance has great information about things like volunteer opportunities. They often have trail work days. So we've got some of our ladies who are really active in doing things like they build the boardwalks or they clear some of the invasive species out there. And they get involved in that or they share upcoming dates on that. Things like one of our ladies does a lot of trail maintenance. So she's the first one to step in and say, hey, if it's muddy, do not do a group run here because you're going to make a mess of the trail for other people. So be aware that, especially in spring, Wisconsin spring, I'm sure Illinois spring, you're running through mud and then the next day it freezes. Well, then you've got these frozen ankle-turning divots, you know, and we have a couple months of that kind of a mess going on. So, you know, just being aware of that kind of things, of trail conditions, that's been a real eye-opener for me. I was maybe vaguely aware, but I didn't realize the extent of the damage and the work that's required to bring the trail back up to speed after a bunch of runners have, you know, run through it at this time of year. So those kind of things, it's been eye-opening, and I think that's a really good way to be a good trail citizen.
When did you start trail running? What introduced you to it?
Completely by accident. So I was not a runner. I always liked the outdoors. Like my mom was one of these people who we'd go outdoors and she knew, like, if there's a bird singing, she could tell you what it was. If there's a leaf on the ground, she knew what tree it came from. She was into foraging, so she was always looking for morel mushrooms or hickory nuts or any of that. So she knew all of that. So I was totally into that. I was totally not into running, hated running.
Yeah.
And then like 10 years ago, my son was just like 8 months old, tiny baby. And I was sitting on a floor with him and I tried to pick him up and like my knee buckled under me. And of course I'm like this disaster in my head person. I'm thinking, oh my God, if I can't even stand up off the floor with him, I'm not going to be able to play with him. I'm not going to be able to keep up with him. I'm going to be the mom at the playground who's sitting there in her phone while her kid's playing. I don't want to do that. So like that day I started Couch to 5K.
Okay.
And I bought Ultra Marathon Man, and I started reading that.
That's a great book.
Yeah, it was very inspiring. So I started
almost
running
two
that
sides
way.
of the spectrum, though, at the
Right?
same time.
Yeah.
Couch to 5K, and then I'm going to be inspired by this ultra.
First I'll do the 5K, then I'll do the 100.
That's kind of how I operate, though. So that was the perfect combination. And so I signed up for a 5K at the end of it, and it happened to be a trail 5K. I had no idea. It was at Bigfoot State Park in Lake Geneva. No idea other than I got there. I'm like, my shoes are getting real muddy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of hills. This is really hard.
Yeah.
But it didn't occur to me that there was really this big dichotomy between trail running and road running. It was just, there was a different place to go run. And my first marathon ended up being a trail marathon. And I didn't choose it because it was a trail marathon. I chose it because it was like near my birthday. And I thought, well, that'd be a fun birthday present.
Which one was that?
The Lake, I don't think they do it anymore, the Lake Michigan Trail Marathon.
Oh, okay.
So it was an interesting race. I ran it in its inaugural year. They had some troubles with someone sabotaging the course markings.
Okay.
And me being not anywhere near the front of the race, I got lost.
Okay.
You know, the trail markings weren't there. I got lost. I may have had a good cry
Yeah.
on the race. But, you know, it was fine. It was an experience. But that was my first big on the trails kind of a thing. And
Yeah.
then I think the following year I did the North Face 50K.
Okay.
Which was also cool. I got stung by a bee right above my eye at mile 18. And all they could offer me at the aid station was ice, and it was a very cold day.
Yeah.
I actually told them I'm quitting. I'm taking a DNF. I'm done. And I sat at the aid station for 40 minutes waiting for someone to pick me up.
Yeah.
And I was freezing. I'm like, can I just withdraw that and run to the end? Because I'm just cold now. So I ended up finishing.
It was all a trick. There was no ride coming.
You know, that was very effective. That was a good ploy because it got me to the finish.
So do you consider yourself a road runner or a trail runner?
Definitely a trail runner.
Okay.
I don't like, you know, I do a lot of pacing for road marathons, the 5.5 hour finishers. I love the back of the pack. I mean, if that wasn't obvious, I love that group of people. That's a 12-minute and 35-second mile.
Okay.
So the Milwaukee Lakefront Marathon and the Milwaukee Marathon, I've been pacing the 5.5 hour finishers for a bunch of years now.
Oh,
and I love
that's
that.
great.
That's the only time I really do any road races anymore.
Okay.
There's a couple of other like half marathons that sometimes use pacers, and I'll volunteer for the 2.5 hour finishers for that. But other than that, if it's just like to go and run for me, I'm not much of a road runner.
Okay. I find it super interesting, your hobby or your volunteer job of working with animals. You know,
So
what is that?
The Wildlife and Needs Center. So this has an interesting origin for me, and it's kind of dumb, but I'm going to share it anyway. So I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, really. I think if you're going to make a change, just make the change.
Yeah.
But I do believe in setting stupid goals. So last year, my stupid goal, I announced to my husband, I said, 2019 is going to be the year that I get to pet an owl.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, okay, weirdo. So he was watching the news one day, and the Wildlife and Needs Center, which is a wildlife rescue up in Dousman, basically a couple miles from Lapham Peak State Park. It's right off the Ice Age Trail. Mm-hmm. They're a wildlife rescue. They take in, let's say a bird smacks into your window and it's stunned and it's laying there. It's not dead, but it's obviously hurt. You put it in a shoebox, you bring it in, and they'll see if they can help it. Or if you're out driving and you hit a hawk with your car, which is common because they eat, you know, they're killed by the side of the road and they're not necessarily paying attention to the speeding car. You know, bring in this injured animal, and they have all kinds of volunteer and donation resources that they pour into helping them out. So they were on the news one day, and they a training session for volunteers, and my husband didn't ask me anything about it. He just called up, signed me up, and he told me, hey, you wanted to pet an owl? This is probably going to be your closest chance. So they ask for a commitment of like 6 months, which I don't have a ton of free time. But I said, okay, this is something I really wanted to do. I really wanted to get up and close and personal with this wildlife.
Yeah.
So every Sunday afternoon now, I'm at the Wildlife and Needs Center volunteering with animal care, which means making food for squirrels sometimes. Sometimes it means I'm holding an owl so she can get x-rayed because she has a broken wing. Sometimes it means I'm, holding a snake or changing the bedding in a frog's cage. You know?
Are you afraid of snakes at all? I think I'd be freaked out by
I
that.
was completely freaked out until I had the opportunity to hold one. They're actually pretty cool.
Okay.
I had no idea. Salamanders, that was another one. I was like, well, this is disgusting, but no, actually they're lovely. So it's really cool.
Did you have to go through training to be able to do that?
Yep, they do training, and they do ongoing training too. Like I couldn't touch an owl until I did the raptor training because owls and hawks and all of them, they have beaks and they have very powerful claws. So unless you know exactly how to grab them and hold them safely, you could get they could break a wrist, honestly, if they grab you just right. So they want to really educate you on how to properly handle them and hold them. But it's a volunteer, for the most part, operation. They have some staff there that's veterinary medical type staff, and it's run on donations, and they do some amazing work. We're getting into the time of year that I'm told it gets to be very busy. They have lots of baby birds in spring. So I'm kind of excited to see what exactly busy means there, because they say they'll have hundreds
Wow.
Yeah.
So 2019 was the year you touched the owl. And so then what was 2020? Did you pick a different animal, or did you like I want to wrestle like a cougar?
That's like in the 10-year plan.
Okay.
No, this year, I swear I'm like 6 years old. Sometime this year, I'm going to befriend a crow. I don't know. It seems like a thing.
Nothing like having a murder of crows as friends.
That's my hope, honestly. That's my hope. So a girl can dream.
It's murder of crows, right? I'm just making sure, right?
And a parliament
It's
of
not
owls.
There we go.
Isn't that cool?
Yes. Fantastic.
Does your son come volunteer with you on that?
He's not old enough yet. He will be in a few years to do what's called baby bird feeding. Baby birds eat every 20 minutes.
Oh, so that means
Little
that
eyedropper kind of thing?
your
Yep.
6-month commitment, you're already seeing going in longer.
I'll be there forever. I'll be there as long as they have me. But yeah, when he's old enough, he will be there with the baby bird feeding. But he's come to some of their events, and he's gotten to meet. They have what's called ambassadors, animals that are healthy, but they couldn't be released into the wild. Like they have this owl who's just beautiful, but she's blind, so she wouldn't be able to hunt on her own. So he's been to some of their events and has met some of the animal ambassadors, and they use those to go and educate the public. Like when he was in preschool, they came to his preschool and brought an owl and a snake and a turtle and told the kids all about, these are animals that you'll see locally. And it's different than going to the zoo. I mean, the zoo, you see exotic stuff. Here you see stuff that you could maybe find in your backyard.
Yeah.
So
the owls, I've seen pictures of you on Facebook. They look like they like you, like they're, I don't know. It just looks.
they should.
You're feeding them. Do they get attached to you? Like, do they go, oh, hey,
So
look, here comes Jenn.
they actually that's actually a thing though. They want to make sure that you don't, other than the ambassador animals that are going to be permanently living there, there's actually some animals that are very prone to becoming attached to humans because they have like surprising intelligence, like the baby turkeys. Don't make eye contact with the baby turkeys. Don't coo at them or make noises at them because they can become very attached. And once they become bonded to humans, they're maybe not as suitable for release.
Okay.
So the ambassador animals that are going to live there forever, we can be their best friends. But the animals that are there for care, I mean, I really want to just pet all the owls, but I can't. You have to be very
owls
professional.
like to be pet?
No.
Okay.
No, but they, you have to handle them to some extent. We get a lot of owls that have been in car accidents. That's just a thing. They fly and a car will hit them. And an owl with a broken wing is kind of a sad thing. So they'll have like wraps that have to be changed. I had to take one the other day and bring it in so it could be x-rayed so they could see how he was healing. So there is some amount of handling that you have to do. We had a screech owl. They're tiny, they're little, and they're really cute. They're like the kitten equivalent of an owl.
Yeah.
But his eye was just destroyed. He was hit by a car. So he needed eye drops. So I got to hold him while they put the eye drops in, and it's cool.
I just imagine like the owls like looking in a different direction, and as you approach them, their heads just completely turn 180 degrees and like see you coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They are very aware of where you are. No matter what their eye situation is, they're very aware, and they've got hearing that's amazing. So they know they've got your number.
Yeah. No sneaking up on
No.
that.
No.
That's
And then
amazing.
they're hurt, and I'm thinking when I'm injured, I'm kind of grouchy and not so happy.
Some of them are big babies.
Yeah.
The great horned owl,
yeah.
big babies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're all
Yes.
big and tough, but they're
They're
big.
big and
Ones we
tough,
think
but-
they're big, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
no,
of
they're
course
big
the-
babies. Like if you're like when they check for the broken bones and stuff, they'll start making these noises. And my question is that a warning? Is it warning? Like it's mad at you? And the animal care specialist that was feeling her, she was like, no, she's crying. She's a big baby. So, who knew?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite animal that you've had there?
Oh, all the owls. I am crazy about the owls. But they do have one ambassador turtle. His name's Eddie Lacey Moraine. I don't know. He's the coolest turtle. Like he digs under the dirt, and then he'll like pop his head out if he's interested in what you're doing. He's cute as heck. And I've never liked turtles before. I always thought they were kind of
So
weird.
turtles like people; they get attached to you.
Yeah, I think so. But he's an ambassador, so he's there forever, and he's a cool guy. But by far, the owls, love the owls.
So how do people find out about going up there to visit them?
So the best thing you can do is check out their Facebook page. It's called the Wildlife and Need Center.
Okay.
The Facebook page is amazing. Every day they're posting either fun animal facts or cute photos. They recently did a fundraiser for a fox that they took in who was severely injured and ended up needing almost $2,000 worth of surgery over and above what they expected. So they did a fundraiser for him, and they've been posting the cutest pictures of him. He's adorable. But their Facebook page is great. And then they post when they have events, like they'll have fundraisers. I think they have another spaghetti dinner coming up. They have meet and greets, things like that you can come. The public is welcome to come and meet some of the ambassador animals.
Have you got to be there for any of the releases?
Not yet, but that is my hope that I'll be able to do that, at least with some of the owls at some point.
I was at Veterans Acres one time, and I was coming down the trail, and all of a sudden this fox came up, and it started following me on the trail, and I could see a lady, they had just released it, and it
so
was
cool.
kind of like, hey, you're a person. I've seen some people. And I go, why is this fox following me?
I'm cool with it.
Oh, that's funny.
Has any of the animals or the wildlife in need made it into your art, as far as you around them so much they kind of trickle into?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm wild about owls, so owls are everywhere in my stuff. And then when I do watercolor stuff, so you can only have so much of your own watercolor stuff in your house. So I put in my son's lunch. I make him little paintings, and then, with little reminders, eat your lunch,
Or this owl will eat you.
Right. Well, like I've painted foxes for him and owls for him and things like that, and I slip them in his lunch, and I'm sure it's completely embarrassing to him, and I don't care.
Or he's selling them. He's like selling them on the.
I'm
He's like,
okay with that.
$5 for this.
I gotta say, I don't think I'm not particularly talented at anything, but I have to say a little brag. We go to the same dentist, and the hygienist came up to me the last time we were there, and she said, "So, are you an artist?" I'm like, "Not at all." And she's like, "Oh, well, your son said that we should buy some of your art to put on our walls here because our art is lame," in his words.
Oh,
Yes.
my
gosh,
God.
that's awesome.
That's amazing.
So that was cool.
That is
So
great.
I have one fan.
Yeah. Well, you got more than that.
Yeah.
You're very good at being humble.
Oh, thanks.
So we're getting signaled that we're about done. So is there anything about Trail Sisters or something that you wanted to talk about in particular?
If anything, what I said about Trail Sisters is interesting to anyone, Trail Sisters Waukasha is the group that I'm in charge of, along with Andrea Webb, in Waukesha area. And it's not just the city of Waukesha, it's kind of anyone in that general area. There are Trail Sisters groups in Kenosha and Madison. There are also Trail Sisters groups all over the country. So the Trail Sisters website will lead you in the right direction to find a local group. And if a local group doesn't interest you, they've got great articles on very female-centric trail running stuff. And it's a great place. Subscribe. You'll get the articles in your inbox. And if you can make it to one of the Trail Sisters meetups, I love it. It's great. It's been so great to run with these ladies, from the people who are the amazing, fast, race-winning trail runners that we've got some of those in our group, to the people who are like, I've never run on a trail before and I'm so intimidated, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to try. Everyone. We've got the whole spectrum.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you.
Thank you
Thank you for coming out.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. And thank you for listening to the Dirt Trail Running Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Strava, the Gram, the Instagram.
It's called Instagram. We both know it's called Instagram.
It's the Gram.
Twitter, YouTube, all of that stuff. And come visit us at the Trailhead. Thank you.